Time has come for us to consider the mayor's presentation of his annual budget message. The Philadelphia Home Rule Charter states that the mayor shall submit to council no later than 90 days before the end of the fiscal year his operating budget message and proposed operating budget ordinance for the ensuing fiscal year. At the same time, the mayor shall submit to council the recommended capital program and capital budget as received from the City Planning Commission to the extent approved by the mayor. I now appoint the following committee to escort the mayor into council chambers: Councilman Henon, Councilwoman Reynolds Brown, Councilman Greenlee, Councilman O'Neill, and Councilman O. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to introduce the Mayor of the City of Philadelphia, Mayor James F. Kenney.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say it is certainly humbling and a wonderful experience to be back in this chamber that I spent such a long time in as mayor. Thank you. I want to thank the council president and for all my colleagues in council for welcoming me to speak today. It feels really good to be home. I spent about just half my life in this chamber. I started in 1992 under then Council President Street, right over there, and I've since had the privilege to work with two more great council presidents, Anna C. Verna and now Council President Clarke. I've also had the distinct pleasure over the years to getting to learn a lot from all of you. Through the work we've done together, you have helped shape me, and I believe you will see that impact reflected in our first budget together. In this budget, we continue to try to protect the rights of our most vulnerable. Councilman Greenlee has been a consistent advocate for the rights of Philadelphians, both through paid sick leave and battling wage theft. I am proud that this budget proposes an additional position to assist with the enforcement of these very important laws. Councilwoman Quinones Sanchez has also been a critical partner in advancing the rights of our city's undocumented. Over the next year, I look forward to working with her and the rest of the City Council to develop a plan for a municipal ID. Council members O'Neill and Henon have also gone to bat many times to get our firefighters the life-saving tools that they need. This year, thanks in no small part to their efforts, I'm excited to announce that our 6-year plan will provide over $80 million for the replacement of old, malfunctioning vehicles and desperately needed facility improvements like roof replacements. Our police officers will also be getting more resources to protect and serve the citizens of Philadelphia under this budget proposal. In addition to repairing infrastructure in our police district stations, this budget equips our police force with body-worn cameras. As Councilman Jones pointed out passionately during hearings last year, body-worn cameras have been extremely successful in reducing the use of force and reducing the police abuse allegations all across the country. I am confident that the expansion of the body-worn cameras in consultation with our local FOP in Philadelphia will further the admirable community policing efforts led by our great Commissioner Richard Ross. This budget also increases community safety by dedicating resources to preventing traffic-related fatalities. As Councilwoman Bass has consistently pointed out, it is unacceptable that we treat these deaths as a fact of life in Philadelphia. Working with key stakeholders, our new Office of Complete Streets and the Managing Director's Office will identify changes that we can make, whether it to be better lining or signage or a change in traffic flow, to protect that child walking to school and the cyclist just trying to get to work. The Streets Department and LNI will also work to advance our Vision Zero goals by enhancing their right-of-way activities. The recent explosion of development has significantly increased sidewalk and street closures. This budget would allow us to ensure safe travel around those closures and to better enforce penalties against those that are illegal, raising revenue for the city and preventing these dangerous encroachments in the first place. This budget will also continue City Council's efforts to ensure that the 22nd and Market collapse will never happen again. Today, we are proposing funding for additional code enforcement unit and for 2 additional LNI district offices. These offices would be strategically located in areas of the city that are experiencing the most construction activity, so that we're increasing oversight of these construction projects and allowing businesses to get permits more efficiently. This budget also supports small businesses and commercial corridors by expanding the Community Life Improvement Program all across the city. As many of you already know, CLIP manages graffiti, vacant lot cleanups, and other instances of blight that can make the difference between a community on the rise and one mired in crime. This investment will specifically increase vacant lot and exterior property abatements by 5,000 over the next year. CLIP also serves as a critical workforce development tool, allowing folks who have gone astray to pay back their debt to the community while gaining professional experience and skills. Additionally, this investment would bring in $100,000 in new revenue for the city through the collection activities of CLIP employees. As Council members Parker and Squilla have been saying for a long time, CLIP has a pretty incredible return on investment for both the city and our neighborhoods. Thanks to the efforts of Council members Henon and Taubenberger, this budget also supports our small businesses by establishing a line item for the Storefront Improvement Program, which will help fund approximately 100 upgrades this year. Research shows that facade improvements lead to additional foot traffic, increased revenue, and the creation of new jobs. But our commercial corridors almost lost this successful, long-standing program after a change in federal regulations. While Councilmember Henon successfully fought last year for a temporary funding measure, the city's commitment to our commercial corridors should never be in doubt, which is why we are so proud to introduce a stable funding source in this new budget. In addition to growing local businesses, we will also continue to expand Philadelphia's international profile. I want to thank Councilman O in particular for all his work in promoting Philadelphia globally. We will soon be hiring a director of international investment whose job will be built on the councilman's efforts, increasing export activity and attracting new businesses to locate here in Philadelphia. This budget also proposes several measures in line with Council members Squilla and Dom's laser focus on decreasing tax delinquency. I'm proud to say that we already expect to collect $69 million more in additional delinquent tax revenue over the next 5 years. And to help address this problem further, we're proposing to increase the number of taxpayer service representatives and to add technical programming to Revenue's IT system. The budget also addresses systemic issues in the city's mailroom, which, as Controller Butkovich recently brought to light, have wasted taxpayers' dollars and delayed critical communications to Philadelphians on everything from subpoenas to water bills. While the backlog of the mailroom has been eliminated, funding will be allocated to consult with industry experts and to hire additional staff so this issue does not reoccur. These programs are important, but by themselves do not change the status quo. I've been listening to budget addresses in this chamber for over 2 decades. And while we've had great mayors who have done many important things, the core challenge facing our city has not changed, and that's just unacceptable. While over the past 5 years, city funding for our schools has gone up nearly $400 million annually, Funding cuts from Harrisburg continue to deprive our children of the education they deserve. Council members Gim and Blackwell's recent hearings on the state of our schools have unearthed some shocking and troubling statistics. Nearly 80% of all Philadelphia schools, including charters, are in Pennsylvania's lowest performance tiers. And currently, 46% of our kids enter kindergarten unprepared. Our failure to properly educate our children has reverberated throughout our economy. Two-thirds of Philadelphians currently looking for work test at the 4th to 8th grade level in reading, writing, and math, leaving them largely unable to secure family-sustaining jobs. And that's just people who haven't given up the job search altogether. Philadelphia has the second highest percentage of work-age residents who are out of the labor force. Only Detroit has a higher percentage. A report that just came out Tuesday also found that nearly half of Philadelphians live in what are classified as distressed zip codes. In these zip codes, there is high poverty, few people with high school degrees, and marginal, if any, increase in businesses in recent years. If we ever want the mayor's budget addressed to be about something other than our failing school system and its repercussions, then we need to implement serious, radical, and ambitious policies. So this year, I'm proposing 5 interlinking programs that together will create the real change Philadelphians want and deserve. The first is pre-K. Through an investment of $256 million in combination with state and federal funding, we could have 25,000 quality pre-K seats in Philadelphia over the next 5 years. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown was among the first to educate me on the importance of pre-K, the importance of affordable quality pre-K, especially for our low-income communities. Because most of a child's brain development occurs in the first 5 years of life. Quality early education gives our most vulnerable children the tools to compete with their wealthier peers. In fact, a range of studies shows that children who participate in quality pre-K are far likely to succeed than those who don't. A study by the William Penn Foundation found that the percentage of 4-year-olds with strong academic and social skills more than tripled after participating in the state's pre-K program. A Chicago-based study found that children who participated in high-quality preschool were 20% less likely to be arrested for a felony or incarcerated as young adults than those who did not attend. By age 30, individuals served by a North Carolina early learning program were 4 times more likely to graduate college and 42% more likely to be consistently employed. In addition to improving our school district's academic outcomes, quality pre-K also has positive fiscal benefits for our entire school system by reducing the need for special education services. The school district currently spends an average of $23,000 for one child to receive special education services for just 1 year. According to the city's pre-K commission, Philadelphia could save approximately $5.6 million per grade cohort if all children were enrolled in quality pre-K. There are also very real economic benefits for both small businesses and overall job creation. A report frequently cited by the Economy League found that for every $1 spent on pre-K, at least $1.79 is generated in local spending. That same study also found that for every 20 jobs created in the Pennsylvania early education industry, 5 unrelated jobs were also created outside of that sector. Pre-K is also essential for stabilizing our existing workforce. If working parents do not have reliable child care, then they can't be reliable employees. And if they can't be reliable employees, then they can't properly care for their children. The second policy we're proposing to bring real change to Philadelphia is the creation of 25 community schools. And I want to thank the council president for his leadership on this issue. and for working with me to advance this initiative. As many of you are already aware, community schools are public schools, where a dedicated coordinator directly integrates largely already existing social services into that school, so children can access them easily. In many cases, these services are also available to the larger community, making the school a hub of the neighborhood. This helps increase parental engagement and community investment in the success of the school. The services provided in each school will vary based on the needs of that community, but the idea is the same. If we can address the things happening outside the classroom that keep our students from learning, whether that be poverty or hunger or health care, then we can improve the lives and futures of our kids. The effectiveness of the community school strategy, particularly in low-income, low-performing districts, can be seen all over the country. There is a community high school in one of Los Angeles' highest need neighborhoods, where 99% of the students graduate and go on to college. And Cincinnati closed its racial and socioeconomic achievement gap by 10% thanks to the community school model. The third policy that will make a real difference for both our education system and our neighborhoods is a $350 million investment in our community infrastructure. There is not a council member in this room who hasn't seen firsthand the devastating impacts of underinvestment in parks, rec centers, and libraries. On Monday, I was at Bear Recreation Center with Councilman Johnson, listening to parents who had lost their children to gun violence. And I couldn't help to think, if we had the resources to actually make Bear a center of the community, then these parents wouldn't even be here. They'd be in the other room watching the kids playing basketball. And the facts back that up. Study after study shows that we can improve the public safety of our neighborhoods, expand educational opportunities for our children, and create jobs, all by just investing in our existing parks, libraries, and recreation centers. The Department of Parks and Recreation, including the Free Library, are the largest provider of after-school programs in the city. And according to the National Center for Educational Statistics, students who do extracurricular activities are more likely to have a higher attendance rate and GPA than those who don't. Investments in parks have also been shown to reduce crime. When the city and the Fairmount Park Conservancy invested $5 million in Hunting Park, crime went down. Crime went down 89% within a half-mile radius of the park over the next 3 years. These investments also help create jobs and find employment. A third of the visits to our library see each year are Philadelphians seeking assistance in the job application process. Additionally, fixing these facilities and parks will create hundreds of construction jobs for working families. And the improved infrastructure may also support additional programming jobs for people in the community. Investing in community infrastructure also builds on the council president's proposal to spend $150 million on increasing energy efficiency in city-owned buildings. As the council president has rightly pointed out, investments in energy efficiency create middle-class jobs and help the city save money that can be reinvested in other critical initiatives like education and public safety. So as our fourth policy initiative, I am proposing issuing a $100 million bond to make energy-efficient infrastructure improvements to branch libraries, police stations, firehouses, and other city properties. The fifth and final policy I'm proposing is an additional $26 million investment in our pension fund over the next 5 years. Currently, our pension fund, as you all know, is less than 50% funded. Over the next 5 years, we will spend $3.4 billion trying to address that deficit. That's nearly the cost of our current annual budget. As a result, we'll have significantly less to spend on other programs Philadelphians need and want. Now, I won't pretend that this $26 million investment will solve all our pension fund's underlying problems. Councilman Greenlee and I have talked about this at length, and I know that we still must commit ourselves to working with all of our unions. The first test of that will come this June, and we are committed to negotiating a fair and equitable contract with District Council 33. But making this $26 million investment is still an important indication to the credit agencies, our lenders, and most importantly to the city workforce, that the mayor and city council are committed to addressing this serious problem. I am proposing to pay for this pension investment as well as for quality pre-K, community schools, and investments in community infrastructure and energy efficiency by levying a 3-cent tax on sugary drink distributors. And as some of you may already have heard, Big Soda isn't thrilled about that at all. Now, I don't have anything against our city's large distributors or even the big soda companies. I think they're good people. We just disagree on this issue. See, the problem is that Big Soda charges our citizens, small businesses and distributors, much more than it costs for them to make the soda in the first place. And then they use some of those profits to fund lobbyists who come here and say that the tax on sugary drinks will cost jobs and devastate small businesses. And they're pretty persuasive. So persuasive, they even got me to believe them 5 years ago. And I'll tell you the line that really got me 4 years ago was the claim that this tax would hurt low-income minority communities. And that's really a concerning claim for me. But the truth is that soda companies are the ones actually targeting their advertising at low-income minority communities in the first place. A 2009 study found that lower-income African Americans in Latino neighborhoods have far more outdoor ads for sugary drinks than higher-income neighborhoods or white low-income neighborhoods. Researchers at Yale also found that African American youth see 80 to 90% more ads for sugary drinks than their white counterparts. The other concerning claim about this tax is that it will cause an employment crisis. But we know that's false because we just went through that a number of years ago when we passed the liquor tax. Employment did not slow down after the liquor tax was instated. In fact, Philadelphia's restaurant and bar scene has grown by leaps and bounds. Now, the two largest unionized beverage truck driver employers in Philadelphia are Pepsi and Coke. So it's easy to think that when the demand decreases for Pepsi and Coke, those drivers may be out of a job. But Pepsi and Coke drivers deliver all the products under the Pepsi and Coke label, which includes not only sugary drinks, but also bottled water and the dozens of other products they have created that would be exempt from these taxes. This tax also won't hurt the restaurant industry because restaurants are already trending away from the reliance on soda profits. I have a large restaurateur in the city who called me yesterday to talk about this issue and told me he gives the soda away. Applebee's was the first family dining restaurant chain to remove soda from its children's menus, joining fast food chains Burger King, McDonald's, Wendy's, and Dairy Queen. And furthermore, this tax won't wipe out small business. Small grocers, bodegas, convenience stores are already stocking and selling non-sugary beverages. And they are doing that because customers' preferences are already changing, even without a tax. During the last 2 decades, U.S. full-calorie soda sales have dropped by over 25%, while sales of bottled water, which both Pepsi and Coke also sell, have shot through the roof. Just in Philadelphia, between 2007 and 2013, daily soda intake dropped by 16%. Additionally, the programs this tax will fund, like pre-K and investments in parks, libraries, and rec centers, will actually help small business. Child care and early learning professionals generally spend most of their earnings locally. As I mentioned earlier, for every $1 invested in pre-K, in Pennsylvania, a total of $1.79 is generated in total spending within the state. Furthermore, most child care centers are small, minority, women-owned businesses, and this investment will go a long way towards helping them grow and expand. The budget I'm proposing today also contains other policies to help small business. In addition to the storefront improvement program I spoke about earlier, I'm also proposing the reduction of the business income and receipts tax to 6.15% and including an exemption of $100,000. During that same time, we also plan to reduce the wage tax to 3.33% for non-residents and 3.73% for residents, bringing that tax to its lowest rate since 1975. But none of that can happen. Not the stimulus, not the reduction in taxes, not the pre-K, not the community schools, not desperately needed investments in parks, rec centers, and libraries if we don't pass this tax. There is simply nowhere else to find the revenue. We all know we can't raise property taxes again, God forbid. Who wanted to go through that one more time? We've already raised them 4 times in the last 5 years. And it's simply not fair to ask our homeowners, or any other Philadelphian for that matter, to pay more while large soda companies and wealthy distributors are making incredible profit margins. We also know we can't find this money in the budget. While we've combed this budget for savings and even recovered additional tax delinquent revenue, our budget is so tight due to the cuts made during the recession and the size of our pension obligations, the money just isn't there. Pilots, while still worth exploring, are also not going to get us the recurring revenue we need to fund such large-scale programs. Even in Boston, where pilots are very, very successful, the city receives just half of what we need to operate pre-K on an annual basis. But the most persuasive argument of all for the tax is that Philadelphians elected us to implement the very programs this revenue will fund. Is that my mother up there? Last year was the education election. The voters approved a pre-K commission with an 80% mandate, dramatically outperforming any other ballot measure. And at forum after forum after forum after forum, we listened to Philadelphians beg for safe community spaces, family-sustaining jobs, and quality neighborhood schools. We can give our citizens all those things with just one tax. And I know that one tax can make some very wealthy and very powerful people very, very upset. But I've seen this council take on special interests before, and I know together we can do it again. And I just want to give you a personal story of something that's happened in the last couple months that just has impacted me to a great point. I was recently visiting a quality pre-K in Mantua and was sitting in one of those little chairs with the little kids sit in, hoping that it wouldn't break. And 2 little 4-year-old boys came over to me, unafraid, bright smiles, engaged, articulate, happy. And we chatted a little bit about how is school and how do you like your teachers and how do you like, and they liked everything. And they were taking in all the press and they were sponging everything in. So much they were taking in that one little boy reached up and grabbed my nose and said, "Man, you got a big nose." I said, very, very observant, I appreciate that. Now let me go to 2 days later. 2 days later, I had a visit at the Pennypack School. Pennypack School is a high school in the prison where young men who have been charged with serious crimes are being held before trial. But they have to go to high school. And I walked in a classroom, and there were 4 young men in prison garb reading Macbeth, reading the parts of Macbeth out loud to each other. I walked into another classroom, and there were 3 young men standing there very proud to explain to me what a parabola is. And they had a model of one. And by the time they got done explaining it to me, I still didn't understand what it was. But I knew that they understood what it was. And after that, before I left, I sat in a circle with those young men, and we talked about their life, their future, their situation. And we're just chatting. I mean, it's hard to talk when you're in that circumstance. And a young man said to me, "Mayor, may I say something?" I said, "Absolutely." He said, "This is the best school I've ever attended. The best school he ever attended in jail. It is our responsibility to those 2 4-year-old little boys and to every 4-year-old little boy and girl in this city to not let them go on the road to Pennypack, but get them on the road to Penn. Thank you all. Let's get to work.